Hello, doggies. Welcome to CredenceLaw Learning. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss Constitutional 1 syllabus analysis with its expected questions unit wise. So, speaking of the first part of the Constitution 1, it's about the fundamental rights and directive principles of the state policy, and the last concept is fundamental duties, which is covered in the syllabus 1. I mean, the paper 1 of the Constitution. Earlier, they used to have one paper for entire Constitution, like they used to divide part A and part B. But now, as per the new rules, we have two papers for the Constitution. One is paper 1, other one is paper 2. Paper 1, we are going to study in the first semester. Paper 2 is studied in the second semester. And let's start with an important quote. And education is the most powerful weapon which can change the world. And then this was the quotation which was said by Nelson Mandela. Now, speaking of the first unit, from the first unit, it is an introduction to the Constitution, kinds of Constitution, features of Indian Constitution. Dear students, be mindful of two things here. There can be two questions asked. One is salient features of the Indian Constitution, other one is quasi-federal feature of the Indian Constitution. Remember, these are the two different questions. Most of the students do the mistake where if the question is asked about the quasi-federal, they tend to write the features. So you're gonna lose 16 marks for that one answer, wrong answer. So remember, salient features means you're gonna write what are the salient features, written constitution, preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties. Those are the salient features. Quasi-federal feature in the sense we are gonna talk about Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution. A quasi-federal feature, how center controls state under what circumstances, and all that is covered under the center-state relation quasi-federal feature constitution. Now, when we talk about introduction to the Constitution, Indian Constitution is considered to be the lengthiest and detailed document. Originally, it consisted of 395 articles, which was arranged under 22 parts and 8 schedules. Today, after many amendments, it has 448 articles, 12 schedules, and 25 parts. So, first, question, salient features of the Indian Constitution. Salient features, modern constitution, it's a written constitution. We have the preamble given in the constitution, which is considered to be the opening up of the minds of the maker. And we have fundamental duties, fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are covered, and fundamental rights are covered in part 3 from article 12 to 35. And then we have DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, Socialist State, Secular State, Fundamental Duties. These are the features of Constitution, salient features of the Constitution. There is one more question which is asked. Indian Constitution is neither federal nor unitary, it is quasi-federal. First, we are going to talk about features to the federal constitution. Features to the federal constitution are there is a distribution of powers, supremacy of constitution, written constitution, rigidity, authority of the courts. So these are the features to the federal constitution. And then we are going to write about features to the quasi-federal constitution. It is indestructible union, destructible state. There is emergency, state emergency, during national emergency, state emergency, financial emergency. Center is going to have control over the state, and there is administrative directives to the state, residuary power, amendment to the constitution. These are the specific features to the quasi-federal feature. Dear students, be mindful of these two questions. Quasi-federal feature is altogether a different question. Salient features is a different question. That's the first question. Then comes the concept of constitutionalism. When we talk about constitutionalism, constitutionalism is a legal principle which tends to control over the exercise of governmental power to ensure that the democratic principles on which the government is formed is not destroyed. And it is also based on a statement, quotation we can say, Constitution is a precious heritage, and therefore it cannot destroy its identity. It is on the basis of this principle the concept of constitutionalism stands. And then when we talk about preamble to the constitution, we all know preamble is opening up of the minds of the maker, where it declares India to be sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and it also outlines goals of securing justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all the citizens. And your students, one more thing I'll highlight here. If you are asked a question from the preamble, remember you are supposed to write preamble as it is. We are going to start with double inverted commas. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. And last statement it makes as to when this constitution came into force. It says, we do hereby adopt, enact, and give it to ourselves this constitution on 26th November of 1949. And that is for this reason we celebrate 26th of November as Law Day. And then we have the concept of citizenship. In India, there is only one citizenship, single citizenship, and then it is Article 5 to 11 of the Indian Constitution, which deals with citizenship, concept of citizenship. It says the concept of citizenship at the commencement of constitution, that is 26th January 1950. And now citizenship in India is now regulated by virtue of the Citizenship Act of 1955, where it talks about acquisition, termination of citizenship. So this is all about the first unit. So dear students, first unit is all about introduction to the constitution, features to the constitution, constitutionalism, preamble, and citizenship. In this, three questions are very important. One question is quasi-federal feature, salient features to the constitution, and then preamble is important. Preamble is been a repeatedly asked question, and every question paper you find that question. So be mindful of the questions that you're going to get from this first unit, and also make sure you people understand the preamble and try to remember the preamble as it is. As a student of law, you all must remember the preamble at the tip of your tongue. Then comes the expected questions from the first unit. These are the certain expected questions. Salient features, as I already mentioned, and then about preamble, they can ask pertaining to the case studies or to write about the position. And then we have got certain questions from citizenship. Constitutionalism is always important with a short note. Okay, this is all about the first unit. Speaking of the second unit, we have the concept of state. As we all know, fundamental rights. Indian Constitution guarantees essential human rights in the form of fundamental rights under Part 3, and also DPSP in Part 4, which are fundamental in governance of country. So Part 4 is important for the governance of the country, and the concept of fundamental right in India is largely inspired by United States Constitution's Bill of Rights. And fundamental rights in India is categorized under 7 heads, where one head is now been repealed and it has now been a part of legal right. So we can say now we have 8 heads under fundamental rights. First head is fundamental rights. Fundamental right. Under fundamental right, the first head is right to equality, which is covered from Article 14 to 18. Right to freedom from 19 to 22. Right against exploitation from 23 to 24. Right to freedom of religion is 25 to 28. Cultural and educational right is 29 to 30. And right to constitutional remedies is covered under 32. So speaking of the second unit, it is definitions under Article 12 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, now speaking of definition of state under Article 12 of the Indian Constitution. So Article 12 defines state for the purpose of enforcing fundamental rights, as it essentially outlines which entities are considered to be the part of the state, where a fundamental right is always questioned against the government, Parliament of India, government and the state legislatures of each state, local authorities and other authorities which are under the control of the government of India. So that is the first concept that is important from the second unit. Second, it is Article 13, which is a key provision as it gives teeth to the fundamental right and it makes justifiable. And Article 13 is a protective provision and it is important, and it also lays down three doctrines. One is doctrine of severability, doctrine of favor, doctrine of eclipse. You will be asked one doctrine for the short note. You will be asked this doctrine of severability for 8 mark question. It is very important. And then one more question which is important from the fourth second unit is Article 14. The Constitution of India guarantees right to equality through Article 14 to 18. Equality is a cornerstone of Indian Constitution. Here in the Article 14, the term person is used. When we talk about to whom the equality is rendered as per Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, here person is gender neutral. Gender neutral in the sense it includes male, it includes female, and it also includes hijras, transgenders. Remember, the term person which is used in Article 14 is gender neutral. It means equality to be given to every person irrespective of the gender. And then now a few expected questions we can expect. Article 12 to explain authorities with the help of case studies. We have State of Mysore case, Shantabai versus State of Mysore case. We have certain case studies, electric authority case, and then it is Article 14, which is important. And then doctrine of severability, waiver, eclipses, again important from the shock note point of view. This is all about the second unit. Speaking of the third unit is about Article 15-16. So Article 15 bars the state from discriminating against any citizen of India on grounds only of religion, race, caste, place of birth, gender. And Article 16 is about equality of opportunity to all its citizens in the matters relating to employment and appointment to any person in any office under the state. And then there is Article 17, which deals with abolition of untouchability. 18 is abolition of titles, may be important for the short note. And then comes Article 19. Article 19 is covered in chapter 3, unit 3 of the syllabus. Article 19 guarantees freedom, 6 freedoms: speech and expression, peaceful assembly, association, freedom, free movement, resident, and practice, profess any business within India. Article 19 is important. In Article 19, Article 19 1A is important. That is freedom of speech and expression. Okay, this is about the third unit. So these are the certain expected questions from the third unit. Freedom of speech and expression, privacy. Dear students, remember from Article 21, they have asked right to privacy, which is a part of Article 21. Article 21 talks about right to life. When we talk about right to life, right to life is a very wide term. Right to life also includes right to privacy. It was in the case of Justice K.S. Puttaswamy, retired, and another versus Union of India, where the Court of Law, Supreme Court of India, declared right to privacy to be the fundamental right, and it is one of the landmark case of 2017. It is repeatedly asked with a short note. Be mindful of this question, right to privacy. You're supposed to justify your answer with the help of the case study. And then, yes, this is just a quick information about the classes available. If you are in need of notes, classes, and guidance, you can contact to the number given 7019560214. And if you want one-to-one interaction with the university rank holder, you can directly contact to the number given and you can solve your queries. Then comes the fourth unit. Fourth unit is about Article 20. Article 20, constitutional protection given to persons who are charged with crime before a criminal court. So here in Article 20, we have three doctrines: ex post facto law, self-incrimination, double jeopardy. And Article 21 is right to life, which guarantees life and personal liberty. It states no person shall be deprived of their life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. And Article 21 is one of the cornerstone to the Indian Constitution. It talks about right to life. Right to life is a fundamental right. It includes of many other rights, because it's a widest right which is given under Indian Constitution. And then there is right against exploitation, which is covered under Article 23 and 24. 23 prohibits trafficking in human beings, beggary, and other forms of forced labor, and 24 is prohibition to the employment of children below 14 years in factories, mines, and other hazardous employment. And we have Article 25. Which talks about secularism. Article 25 is about the secularism, right to religion. In India, we don't have a religion of its own, but all religions are given equal importance because it is made a fundamental right under Indian Constitution. So, at right to religion, right to religion is covered under Article 25. Okay, this is and then these are the certain important questions. Right to life, and then we can expect right to religion as important question, untouchability 15, and yeah, these are the certain important questions. And then comes the fifth unit. Article 32 is important. Article 32 talks about writs. Article 32 talks about writs. So when we talk about writs, it is which guarantees a right to constitutional remedies, ensuring that citizens can approach Supreme Court directly for the enforcement of their fundamental rights. And dear students, from the fifth unit, we can expect Article 32, that is 5 writs, habeas corpus, certiorari, quo warranto, and then we can also expect fundamental duties. When we talk about fundamental duties were inserted in the Indian Constitution through 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. And today we have 11 moral obligations to be rendered as a citizen. So that becomes the part of Article 51. It is later inserted through 42nd Amendment. And one more important question that we can expect is interrelation between fundamental rights and directive principles. So directive principles are the directives for the state to follow when they make the policies. And these are the certain important questions from the fifth unit. And practical oriented questions will solve the practical oriented questions in the next lectures. And if you are in need of notes, classes, and guidance, you can contact to the number given. See you all in the next video.